Hello and welcome to episode 6 of WWE 2002 in review. And today we're going to be looking at King of the Ring 2002. Now before we get onto that, just want to apologise for anyone who was watching the series, because I just kind of stopped it. I'm looking at the last video, episode 5, Judgment Day 2002, and that was recorded and uploaded almost exactly 3 months ago, so sorry about that. If you're new to this, basically I'm going to be reviewing the whole event, King of the Ring 2002, and then at the end I'll be reviewing the DVD very quickly, and it's just kind of like I'm doing an overview on the year 2002. So before we get into the event itself, King of the Ring was an event I used to love when I was younger. It used to mean a lot more than it does now, at least, and you know, the King of the Ring tournament itself was a tournament of, you know, matches pitting superstars against each other until there would be one man left at the end of the tournament would be crowned the King of the Ring, and it dates back to the 80s. You know, Don Morocco was actually the first King of the Ring. This was before it was on pay-per-view, and you got people like Harley Race, Randy Savage. I mean, yes, I am reading this off a list. Ted DiBiase, Tito Santana. Bret Hart won it twice, I believe, from this list. Owen Hart, who called himself the King of Hearts, which was awesome. By the way, the Bret Hart one was one of my favourites when he had 3 awesome matches against, I believe it was Bam Bam Bigelow, Razor Ramon, and Mr. Perfect. Awesome. Mabel, less said about that the better. Stone Cold Steve Austin launched the career of Stone Cold Steve Austin. Now we're getting into the modern era, and you know, Triple H, Ken Shamrock, Billy Gunn. I think they tend to kind of forget about the Billy Gunn. Kurt Angle famously won it. Edge, Brock Lesnar, Booker T, William Regal, and finally Sheamus. And yes, I did just mention who wins this King of the Ring, but we all know that anyway. So, you know, towards the end of the 2000s, it kind of just dropped out, really. And the last time we saw it was in 2010 when Sheamus was dubbed King Sheamus, which didn't really go down too well. So this event, King of the Ring, this is when, you know, it really still did mean something. So let's have a look at what, you know, what was going on. The show opens with a recap of every past winner, or, you know, looking at this, every past pay-per-view winner, and of course forgetting about Billy Gunn. Bret, Stone Cold, Owen, Triple H, Kurt Angle, Edge, and there's some cool voiceovers from all 4 participants in the finals of this King of the Ring. Jericho, RVD, Brock, and Test, and they hype it up big like it's going to be their career-defining moment. First match is Chris Jericho versus Rob Van Dam. Great wrestling to start with, back and forth, really good. Rob Van Dam's being cocky, and Jericho just slaps him in the face. Just, you know, their personalities are really clear in this matchup. There's an awesome plancha early on from Rob Van Dam, and a ridiculous release German suplex on RVD from Chris Jericho. It seems like they're just going all out in this match, and but Jericho can't get the walls of Jericho in, and he can't get the Lionsault on. He can't hit the Lionsault. So what he ends up doing is he tries everything to win. He exposes the turnbuckle, puts his feet on the ropes when he's pinning him, which I thought was really cool. Nice little bit of psychology. And after a really great kind of like reversal exchange, RVD misses a huge 5-star frog splash. Jericho hits his Lionsault, which is a surefire finish, but there's a kick out. Great near fall. The crowd are loving it. RVD goes for a Hurricane Rana, but Jericho reverses it into Walls of Jericho, textbook. And then they're both on top near the end. RVD knocks Jericho off and hits him with a 5-star. What I loved about this was Jericho fell off the top rope and he kind of landed, so he was lying on his front, and he was still on his front when RVD jumped in the air for the 5-star, and Jericho kind of just naturally rolled over onto his back, and it was just like a perfect hit, and it just looked really natural as opposed to like when they kind of like shift themselves, waiting for them to, you know, looked really, really good. Great match, and RVD goes forward to the final. After the match, Jerry Lawler interviews RVD, and RVD says it doesn't matter if it's Test or Brock he faces in the final, because the only guy who's going to come out on top is RVD. Jericho beats him up from behind, puts him in the Walls of Jericho for ages until all the referees come down. You know, we've seen that a lot from Jericho, and yeah, Jericho's just really pissed off basically, and doesn't let him get off. Yeah, that was an awesome opening to the event. Really enjoyed this one. Worth noting, I've never seen this event before until I had this DVD. Backstage we have Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman, and Brock's just, you know, not Brock, Heyman's doing all the talking for Brock, and he's talking about how people are calling Brock Godzilla, and that they don't know what they're talking about because Godzilla was fake, but Brock Lesnar is real. Brock looks a little green in this because he doesn't really react much or react well to the words. It looks like he's kind of like, what do I do? Like, he kind of plays the tough guy part well, but he still seems a little bit like a fish out of water. Then we have Test versus Brock, which surprised me. It was a really good match, actually. Test comes out to a lukewarm response. Great sequence into a huge big boot. Brock Lesnar took it like a champ. Brilliant. Yeah, something I noted here, just the pump handle slam is such a pointless move. I used to love doing it when I wrestled, but it's so convoluted, to get the arm underneath and then hook him over and then pick him up and then you just got him in a power slam position. It just is so pointless. But it was one of Test's moves, so he did it.
No.
And Heyman distracts Test near the end, who then walks into an F5, and the crowd just stands up when he picks up Test for the F5. The crowd are really getting behind Brock Lesnar really early on as this monster heel. Well, not as this monster heel. They were getting behind him as the heel, but they were kind of getting behind him as something to see. Like, they really love the F5, and they were loving Brock just being a badass kind of just dominator. Because there'd been loads in the past who just kind of came in and were just like squashing people, but they weren't that good. They were just big. But this guy, Brock Lesnar, was huge, but he kind of had the talent to go along with it, which is what made people literally stand up and take notice. Then we have Coach went backstage, and he asked Bubba Ray Dudley who he thinks will win the King of the Ring final. Bubba's in the Raw locker room, and he cuts a really good straight promo where he kind of puts over both guys in the final, Brock and RVD, and he's glad that they're on Raw. But he says he wishes he was in the final. But seeing as he's not, he's going to find another way to make an impact. Enjoy that. That was good. And then, in contrast to that, we have an announcer by the SmackDown locker room, and they get a word with Lance Storm and Christian, who say that WWE and America are prejudiced. No, WWE and Americans are prejudiced against Canadians, but the whole world hates America, which is a funny line. And Lance Storm said it should have been an all-Canadian final with Jericho and Test, and that they should carry the flag and represent Canada with civility, tolerance, and peace. And Christian says, "You're right, eh?" Which is hilarious. I love Christian, especially heel Christian. Just so funny. I like that you got to see the Raw and SmackDown sides of it. Then we have Cole and Taz up in the crowd, basically hyping up the cruiserweights and how they're exclusive to SmackDown. And then we get this kind of this introduction to Jamie Noble, the Jamie Noble character, this trailer park kind of gimmick, which I really like, this trailer trash kind of thing. And the voiceover's like, "Nydia's a freaking avengeful bitch." Like, the commentators would really rag on some of the women in this, even though that was her character. And they show how Jamie Noble and Nydia, his girlfriend, were having a feud with Hurricane, and she took off Hurricane's mask, and she was kissing Noble with Hurricane's cape, and they were doing all sorts of stuff like mind games and stuff. My notes are really vague on this. By the way, I've actually spent about 3 months watching this, so I've got notes down, but I'm just trying to piece together the little details like this. But I remember thinking, watching the hype video of this match, that it was quite rare that a cruiser match was getting so much build.
Really?
I think they were really trying to
Move.
I remember thinking at the time when I watched it anyway that the build-up video was quite, there was quite a good build-up for this cruiserweight match, which was rare, and I think it's because they were really trying to get behind the cruiserweight division. And then there was this bit where Nydia was wearing Hurricane's mask as her panties, and she pulled them off, and that was quite far. And then we have the match itself, and let me just get this right. This is an exchange between JR and the King when Jamie Noble and Nydia come out. JR says, "Nydia looks like she needs a long hot shower." And King says, "I bet you'd like to take that shower with her, wouldn't you, JR?" And JR says, "Stop it, she's young enough to be my daughter." And then King says, "You say it like it's a bad thing." And then JR says, "Well, for you, that's a different ballgame." The match itself is decent stuff. Jamie Noble's awesome. There's an amazing neck breaker in this. Just such a simple move, but just taken so well. There's this sign in the crowd that says "Bring back DX," which is kind of telling. There's an awesome swinging neckbreaker from the top rope, not a move that you often see from the top rope, it's usually a superplex. Really like high impact, really cool. And the crowd are really into it, you know, the crowd's hot and the angle just worked, you know, it was simple. It touched a nerve, and obviously people really got into the match with the wrestling as well. And Jamie Noble wins with a snap powerbomb, which is really cool and kind of unexpected too, which kind of gets over the cruiserweight kind of, you know, unpredictability kind of thing. And Nydia pushes Hurricane's leg off the top rope. No, not off the top rope, off the rope. He got his foot on the rope, I think, and she pushed it off. But it was like a kind of an anti-climax because it seemed like a lot of the people missed that she pushed his foot off the rope, if you know what I mean. It was a good idea for a finish, but it just didn't seem like it got over that well. And was kind of like a, you know, considering how hot the crowd were. There's a recap of The Rock entering the building on Heat earlier on, and then Terry Reynolds is interviewing Eddie Guerrero, of course, the late great. There's a great promo from Eddie, and he kind of gives shout-outs to his whole family and just makes a joke about it, has a bit of fun, and then just kind of gets serious on his match next up with Ric Flair. Ric Flair versus Eddie Guerrero now. This is kind of like an undercard kind, well, not undercard, mid-card kind of feud going on between two of the greatest. Which again, you kind of think, oh, you know, they'd save this for like a huge match, but you know, there were so many like, you know, big name wrestlers around at this time that you know, matches like this would go on at the middle of the card. By this point, Flair's lost his ownership of Raw to Vince, and I noted that during this match, Flair's knob is actually sticking out of his pants like Pinocchio's nose, and it's just hard not to look at when he's in the corner and he's getting chopped by Eddie. And anyway, the opening is Eddie out wrestles Flair, but Flair fights back with a single chop. Great psychology, absolutely love that. Eddie's just running rings around, well, really running rings around him, but Eddie's kind of like outsmarting Flair with his wrestling. Flair just chops him down, and Eddie's like, fuck this, you know, it's brilliant psychology. And even though Bret Hart once said that Ric Flair's style is non-stop non-psychology, and I think there's some truth to that. I liked it. There's lots of leg working on each other, and they tried to do the bridge up spot, which I'm not going to bother explaining if you don't know what I mean, but they've kind of failed it, which is a shame. Probably because Flair isn't that flexible. Some solid stuff with great selling from Flair and just great movement from Eddie. Really great combination. I know these two wrestled in WCW a few times. I've seen one of those matches. It was really good. Benoit comes down, puts Flair in the crossface, and the ref sends him back. And then Bubba Ray comes out and hits Eddie with a Bubba Bomb, and Flair wins. I'm not sure what was going on there. I'm sure it was something to do with the storylines on Raw. Kind of a, you know, shame that it ended like that, and it was a fun match, but it didn't build into anything great. Oh, sorry. Got a quick drink. I'm actually feeling quite ill right now. Or I have been very ill, and I'm just starting to get a little bit better, so bear with me. Then we get another promo about WWE turning into WWE from WWF. And it's this guy with a big head, like a WWF head, being obnoxious at a bar. Like his head is just the WWF logo. And then like someone burns him, and it goes, you know, it's like, thanks, I needed that. Like they did a few good ones on the Judgment Day pay-per-view, but this one was just, you know, just forget about it now. Then we have William Regal and Christopher Nowinski at WWF New York restaurant bar, and this is just really pointless but kind of funny. This waitress comes over, and Christopher Nowinski is like, hey, you in college? And she's like, yeah, and he's like, oh, that's funny. And then Regal's just like, silly tart. It's so pointless, but I like marked for it because Regal was in it and he was funny. Then we have Molly Holly versus Trish Stratus. This is a feud where Trish just keeps bringing up that Molly's got a fat ass, which is really weird. But I guess it connected with the crowd because they found it funny. Decent match between two of the best women's wrestler of the era. Hard hitting, they really lay into each other all match, just really getting, you know, stiff and, you know, using chops, and there's even like a bridging German suplex. This is when wrestling for women was a lot better than it is now, to say the least. Molly misses her big front flip Molly ground from the top rope, and Trish rolls up from behind, although she rolls through and grabs Trish's pants for the win, becoming the new women's champion. Yeah, I enjoyed that match, it was good. I don't usually really enjoy women's wrestling unless someone like Molly is wrestling, because she was awesome. And here's the questionable commentator line of the month. Jim Ross actually said, "For the first time, we can say the women's champion is virginal." Wow, JR. Wow. Who approved that line? Kurt Angle is then interviewed about the so-called battle of the real American heroes, as he's about to face Hulk Hogan. Angle talks about winning gold medals and, you know, how he's legit, and Hogan just became a hero because Vince told him he was going to be a hero, which was awesome. Such a shoot line. Great promo. Kurt was just awesome in this. He brags about winning King of the Ring 2 years ago, and the year after that, he had 3 matches and destroyed Shane McMahon. I like when wrestlers bring up, you know, like past stuff that they've done. And he says, "I'll make Hogan tap like Mr. Bojangles on speed," which is you know, a great line. Just so dorky like Kurt Angle, but you know, kind of like, you know, he is actually that good. Again, says he's legit. Says he doesn't need to cup his hands to his ear like an idiot to know he's the real deal. Brilliant. And then we have the match itself: Kurt Angle versus Hulk Hogan. Now in the hype video, Hogan says, "All I ever wanted to do was bow out gracefully. I will retire, but not yet." Oh my God, has ever a comment been more like, ugh. All I ever wanted to do was bow out gracefully. Fuck off. No, you didn't. What are you doing now? 10 years later, still on pay-per-views trying to get yourself over. Jesus. He's talking about how he wants Vince, and then Angle comes into the picture. So they're kind of subtly building towards WrestleMania 19. And again, it just seems like Vince is in all these angles. You know, it's all about Vince. You know, everyone's feuding with Vince, and then like Vince will bring in a wrestler to make a match. The wig looks awful, but having it removed is just kind of textbook psychology, and it just gets great crowd reactions. So I guess that was one plus for it. Angle wasn't taking it easy on Hogan with the suplexes. He was like, these were the hardest bumps Hogan was taking since he returned, and even more than most of the matches I've seen him have in the 90s. Angle was throwing Hogan around. And, you know, this was back and forth, sleeper spots, old school stuff. Hogan taking off Angle's wig. Angle goes to leave and then comes back, and he does the rock chair spot where Angle goes to hit Hogan and then hits the rope because Hogan moves and hits himself in the face, which is always good. Hogan goes for the big leg drop, and Angle just blocks his leg and then puts the ankle lock on. It was awesome. And then Hogan tries to kick him off, and he rolls around and he gets him in the ankle lock again. And then finally Hogan taps out. Awesome. Best match Hogan ever had in WWE. Well, the best match he had since he came back. I haven't seen all his matches, but there might have been one with Jericho that he had that was actually no, I think this is probably the best match he's had since he came back. You know, I mean, Hogan and Rock, yeah, was huge, but this was a great match because Hogan was getting bumped around and, you know, was actually putting the work in, you know, because Angle was making him. So I was just checking where the camera was. Then we have a really funny promo between Goldust, Booker T, and The Rock. Now, The Rock had been away for a couple of months, or since WrestleMania, I think. Yeah, since WrestleMania, probably making a film, I guess. And he just does this funny promo with Goldust and Booker T. I'm not going to go into it because it would just take ages, but it was a nice kind of funny back and forth thing where Goldust was kind of dressed up as The Rock, and Booker T and Goldust were still kind of doing the kind of comedy shtick together. Then we have the King of the Ring final, Lesnar versus RVD. And all I think about when I think of this match is Paul Heyman on the sidelines going, title shot at SummerSlam. Think of the title shot, Brock, title shot. It's like, oh God, like Paul Heyman was great, but he was so annoying in this match. Just a title shot at SummerSlam. This was a really short match in comparison to the earlier matches in the King of the Ring tournament. Okay, so I've just like written down like a spot here on my notes, and I've just completely forgotten how it goes. I just know that there was a great false finish in here, okay, that involved Heyman trying to screw RVD, and then it kind of almost worked against him. Brock catches RVD from the top rope into an F5 and wins. You know, mainly Brock dominated, and RVD got a bit of a shine, but was mainly kind of selling the previous match because Jericho kind of beat him up. And then he won the match, and Heyman was like, "You get the title shot, SummerSlam, you got it." So, and then I think it must have been King who was saying, "What do you think Heyman is saying to Lesnar?" Oh, you can't hear that. We can hear that at home, and you can't hear that. And then we got the main event. Triple H is walking backstage, and he bumps into the NWO, who now have Shawn Michaels, the Big Show, and X-Pac. And Kevin Nash is also there. And Triple H just kind of looks at them all. It's kind of a tense moment, and then they all have a group hug. And interesting to see Shawn Michaels there. He just come back recently just to kind of do a little skit with the NWO kind of thing. And then we have the main event. And this whole thing was just kind of a layover thing from, you know, the last time they feuded Undertaker and Triple H. Really, there was nothing behind this other than the Undisputed Championship and Undertaker, and well, the fact the Undertaker interfered in the Hogan Triple H match at Backlash, and it just seemed like they're just filling, you know, main event spots really. The match starts up slow, strong style stuff. They're just kind of slugging out on each other. It builds up, but gets a bit routine, and they just seem to lose their way a bit. You know, they kind of just lose their step a few times, and the crowd are kind of yeah. And then Earl Hebner gets knocked out, and they hit a double clothesline, so they're both down. And then The Rock comes out. He chases Heyman away from the commentary booth because Heyman was actually at commentary for this match, just raving about Brock and the title shot at SummerSlam, which was great actually. I did enjoy that. They brawl to the outside. Triple H, The Undertaker, as The Rock is now on commentary, and Taker just casually just kind of turns over and just big boots The Rock into the Spanish announce table. The Rock kind of fights back as Undertaker goes back to Triple H, and this is going to get real confusing real quick. I apologise. So Taker's about to hit Triple H with the chair. The Rock grabs the chair from Undertaker, goes to hit Undertaker with the chair. Undertaker ducks. The Rock hits Triple H with the chair. The Undertaker throws down The Rock. The Undertaker throws Triple H back into the ring. The Undertaker hits a last right on Triple H. Nick Patrick comes out, the referee. He tries to count the thing. Triple H kicks out. Triple H is bleeding, as per usual, because he always does in pay-per-views around this time. And that's when I kind of forget it again, and we go back to the notes. The Rock gets back in the ring, and hits a rock bottom on the Undertaker. And just before this, Undertaker kind of got in Nick Patrick's face about not counting the 3 count and punched him down, and Nick Patrick does this great he's kind of flailing his arms up in the air, sell to a punch. He's done it before. I think it might be at the Invasion pay-per-view. So funny, the Nick Patrick punch sell. Brilliant. So now that Nick Patrick's down, both referees are down, The Rock comes in, rock bottoms the Undertaker. Triple H does his dramatic, gotta get the pinfall, puts his arm over the Undertaker, and then the Undertaker kicks out, and it's feeling too slow and just too much interfering, and the crowd weren't that hot into it to begin with. You know, they were hot for The Rock, but not Triple H and the Undertaker as much. You know, it was a good near fall, but the crowd just aren't into it that much, and The Rock leaves, and the crowd are just chanting for The Rock. Triple H gives Undertaker a really rough-looking pedigree, but Earl Hebner can't get up to make the 3 count. So Triple H checks on him. Undertaker low blows Triple H, rolls him up, and holds his pants for the win, which is pretty lame, you know, for the Undertaker. Kind of got over his character a little, you know, he's kind of, you know, he's not a dead man anymore. He's just this guy who's going to win any way he can, basically, and he's going to beat you up while he does. Oh, sorry, that's getting dry. This is just a clusterfuck of an ending. That's the bottom line. This whole match, well, the whole last half of this match was a clusterfuck. It wasn't much of a main event up until all the bullshit anyway, really. It didn't build into much of a great match before this stuff started happening. And then The Rock comes back out, hits a people's elbow on the Undertaker. Triple H turns around, pedigrees The Rock. Taker turns around, chokeslams Triple H, and you know, it was just like a you know, I wanted to use the term stunner fest then, but it was just like, you know, just a finisher fest. You know, just hey, just, you know, I didn't like it, the main event. You know, I thought it could have been a lot better, and I think The Rock involvement just seemed a bit random to me. Maybe there was something on the TV beforehand that built up to this, but I don't know. Overall, it's a pretty good pay-per-view. There's some great matches in there. You know, RVD and Chris Jericho was awesome. Hogan and Kurt Angle was awesome. And Hurricane Jamie Noble was really cool as well. It was cool seeing Ric Flair and Eddie Guerrero mix it up. But generally, I don't know. I think I'd give this event maybe a 7 out of 10 because there were some great matches there, but overall it just kind of, you know, the main event really brought it down for me. So we'll just have a look at the DVD now, and we'll be done until episode 7. Okay, so we've got the DVD cover here, which is really cool, nice white cover. Got some pictures from the event, and then we got Triple H and Undertaker and The Rock there. You know, pretty much was a 3-way match towards the end, so that's fitting. In the back we got Brock Lesnar dominating the cover there, and all the matches and the extras and stuff. inside we have WWE 12, which came with every copy of King of the Ring 2002, and we have the insert there, random throwaway thing, PlayStation 2. So that's a really cool kind of insert, and then we have the match listings and the extras. Now the extras are, we get the King of the Ring auditions, which is this this advert. You know, they always have the funny advert for the pay-per-view, and it was just kind of the King, Jerry Lawler, and Al Snow kind of being judges for like all these kings coming in to audition for WWE. So we had like the Queen of the Ring, which was just some bender. We had Tutankhamun, King Tutankhamun, the lion from The Wizard of Oz. I don't really know how this kind of fit in. It seemed like a lame idea really for an advert, but they seemed to think it was great in the behind the scenes clip. There's like a King of the Ring auditions video, which is like a minute long compilation. You should just watch that one because the individual ones are like 10 seconds long, and the behind the scenes is a couple of minutes long. And it's just throwaway stuff. Then we have match highlights from the preliminaries and quarterfinals, which was really cool, worth checking that out if you like the whole tournament idea. And then we had some interviews. The new King of the Ring, which is Paul Heyman just talking for Brock Lesnar, which wasn't really great. Tess giving a god-awful promo, you know, he was not great on the mic. Kurt Angle giving a kind of semi-shoot kind of promo, which is quite kind of cool, just talking about King of the Ring and stuff. And then Jamie Noble just talking about how good it is to be in the WWE, etc. Not great extras, but you know, some nice throwaway stuff. And overall, I'd say the extras and the DVD overall probably about a 6 out of 10. So 7 out of 10 for the pay-per-view and 6 out of 10 for the extras.